to state that on June 19, 2013, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on UTTV Channel 2 and on the Upper Township website. You're hereby direct that this announcement made a part of the minutes of this meeting, and I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Corson?
Present.
Mr. Insera?
Here.
Mr. Newman?
Here.
Mayor Palumbo?
Chair.
All members are present.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes, both regular and closed session?
I'll make a motion to approve the July 8th regular closed session minutes. Second.
Are there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay. Barbara, we'll start with you. Do you have anything for us this evening?
I just have one item that I've been working with the mayor on, and it's regarding a complaint that I received with regards to some issues on Corson Tavern Road. One of the issues involves truck traffic and speeding. The county is addressing this matter. They are conducting a traffic study, and also we have placed our radar car on Corson Tavern at various times to help with that. Another concern that was brought to my attention is waste haulers using Corson Tavern to access the county landfill. Although the MUA is issuing an advisory to all the trucks that use the landfill, advising them of the approved routes, it's been requested that warning signs be placed on Corson Tavern as well to remind the truck drivers of the fines that could be imposed should they use the unapproved route.
They use it all the time, and I'm not going to try to defend them, but sometimes on 550 and 9, you're supposed to take Route 9 as the approved route. 550 and 9, it is a difficult turn on that one corner there. So I understand why they do it, but it does happen every day.
Well, we've also talked with Charlie Norcus, the engineer from the MUA, who will remind the haulers that they're not to use Corson Tavern. And as Barbara said, there was a request, and basically all we need to do is send a letter acknowledging that we would, like to have the county put up a sign, no trucks allowed, or no truck, not a truck.
Improper sign at least is fine.
Well, I'm not sure what signage they're going to use, but they're ready and willing to put up a sign or signs, so I'd suggest that we go ahead and do that. I guess the question is do we need to make that in form of a resolution, or can we just say mayor directs or whatever?
You can have require a vote of the committee, but you can do it by letter. The committee, motions second and votes and directs that the mayor and clerk send correspondence outlining the position of the committee.
That's all we need to do, I think. Yeah. And then I also would note Kirk talked about Route 9 and the Blue Mine Ocean View Road. That was a problem years ago, and they eliminated the tree there in that corner. It's supposed to be better.
It's supposed to be better, but it still looks on a busy day.
I know. Well, it's not a good thing. That's not what they're supposed to be doing.
Right, so I'll make that in the form of a motion that we send a letter to the county asking for signage to be put up, whatever they put, no trucks in this, throughway or whatever.
Is there an ordinance or county ordinance or whatever that covers this?
There is a county rules for the MUA, and when they built the MUA, there was a solid waste hauling route. And the signs are on 610, they're on Kings Highway. There's a few other routes that have, and of course the Tavern Road is not an approved MUA hauling route.
That's part of the advisory that was
But as far as enforcement, is there any?
Actually, the county enforces it through the health department, I believe. Obviously, the state, if there's a speeding problem there, which there
That's what I was going to.
There is, you probably have to see it, please.
Yes.
But the speed limit on Portsmouth Town Road is pretty high.
It's actually 45 now in the residential section, and I always question that, and I always have people passing me because I don't do 45.
Yeah, we were,
We were 55.
No, I know, people were passing.
He's riding his horse. Yeah, and that is one of the other complaints, but we also have the same issue that we've been trying to, on a yearly basis, deal with on Stagecoach as well. I mean, they're experiencing the same kind of traffic flow that those that live on Stagecoach experience from time to time. So, we have a first and a second. If there's no other discussion on that, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay. Daniel?
Nothing at this time. We do have a personnel matter for closed session.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you. I do have a few items for this evening. First, I just wanted to update the committee on the progress with site triangles. We have notified several properties. The residents actually asked the Township Public Works Department to go out and take care of them. Most of them are some elderly people that lived on those street corners, and the Public Works did go out and clear about 3 or 4 that we've been notified. And as we get more, we'll continue that process of keeping those site triangles clear. Wanted to give the committee an update on the Sam's Golf project. I did finally make contact with Dana Migliaccio, she's the executrix of the state, and she has no problem with the township moving forward if we deem that the building is in an unsafe condition and needs to be demolished. The family's already been through the building and they've taken out anything of value for themselves. So I'm still waiting to get paperwork back. I did send her a letter to kind of confirm that conversation. Once I get that back, I'll discuss with Dan, I guess, what measures.
Yeah, I'd like to see the paperwork, and we're going to do that and then charge it back. And obviously, it's already tax liens on it that are beyond the value of it, so I'm not sure that makes much of a difference. But she's consenting to us doing that.
Correct.
It's, I'll get things looked at it, and
We'll make a final determination, but I mean, yeah, it's gotten to the point where the roof is 3/4 of the way inside the building already. So yeah, it is in a state of disrepair that's dilapidated and becoming, if the walls start to come in, then it's in a real unsafe condition where people could be a problem. So I'll keep the committee updated on that. The next, we've been videoing the meetings here for probably a little over a month now, and it requires, with the one camera, we're kind of missing some conversations, and there's between the panning, between whether it's committee and one of the public or the professional staff, it's not providing some of the best coverage that we think that we could provide. We did get a estimate to provide some additional cameras and editing equipment to have here so that we don't have to have the post-editing. So it would cut down on the time that we have staff after the meeting to process the meeting and get it ready for UTTV2 and the website. So, I did discuss with Barbara that we do have funds available to take care of those additional costs. It's approximately $6,850 to add some additional cameras so that we can maintain different shots and also have the ability to have monitors that the person that's filming the committee meetings here can kind of do the editing on the fly and have a much better presentation for the public to view.
and we did budget money for cameras.
Well, we budget, let's be clear here. We budgeted money for the cameras, however, we've been using those funds to address the website and do the issues and improving the website, which is something I was going to talk about a little bit later, but we might as well bring it up now that, Corcoran actually sent me a bunch of metrics on, that the percentage of people using the website is really going up on a monthly basis. So people are using it, it's an information source. But thinking back to what we originally talked about, the funding that we had for the cameras has been used to go through phase 1 and phase 2, and at some point phase 3, in upgrading and enhancing our website. The money that's available is more through
The computer line item and purchase of office equipment that we, set up to buy technology for the various departments. We'll be allocating that technology's expenditure for here to take the committee meeting.
And in Ed has actually saved us some substantial money in rectifying some of the issues we have internally with some of the computer software. I know he's worked with Public Works and he's worked, so we're kind of staying within the budget, but it's not a line item that we specifically are using for cameras, just so everybody's aware of that. I think it's something that we should do. I mean, I think that I've gotten some positive response back on filming this meeting and making it available to folks that can't make the meeting. I think that for those that are viewing it, we've gotten to the point where it's just a little bit too much of a handicap with the one camera. We thought that we'd be able to get by with it, but it's a little difficult with the expanse of the people that are here, and not to mention, someone that's coming to address the township publicly. So, I think it's something that will be of benefit to the residents as a whole, because it will be that much more of an efficient tool and that we can provide and the information to the folks in the township if, this is done properly.
Well, I mean, when we had it, last time I forgot the fact that some people requested to have the meeting live stream. If you're not spending money, let's do all I want to incorporate that into this.
Well, I don't personally know that we're ready. I have no problem with going live, but I would prefer to have everything in place. Everyone becomes efficient in filming it and working on it, and then when we get to that point, we can discuss it again at a later time. Honestly, I have no problem if we go live, but I think before we get to that stage, we need to take a few steps and make sure everything works properly, because the last thing we want is cameras going back and forth. I mean, Ed's been doing a good job in editing it before it gets out and available. There's no information that's cut out, but it's just a matter of the cameras going back and forth and all that kind of stuff. So,
and the audio and the video have to be matched together. That's probably the most.
But with these cameras, the audio will be enhanced. Am I correct, Ed?
Yes. No matter what we do, whether we do it live or the way we're doing it, we're still going to need the new camera system. So, I mean, step one is to get the new cameras, try them, see how they work, and then we can go to step two and go live.
Yeah, I mean,
What I'm saying is, won't we get a better price if you incorporate the two together?
No.
it will work. Will it work live?
We can go live with the system that we're looking at. We already planned it.
And by the way, just, you know what, Ed, why don't you come up and say your name for the record, because, again, here we are, videoing it, and we're asking you questions back and forth, so.
Ed Corcoran.
How come the camera's going?
No, that's all right, he's running the camera.
When we put the quote together and asked for the numbers from Pro Video and a couple other companies, we looked into making sure we could go live if we needed to. So it would only be a very small piece after we get it up, get it running, make sure it looks good for us to then go live with it. Because we do have plans for also incorporating OEM with it in the case of an emergency and we need to send something out that we can go right to channel 2 with it live.
Well, I'm saying, when we put the money into it, and find the piece we put away, but that's...
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying,
It's a perfect-
how much more will it cost for the piece to make it go live? Even if we don't go live right away, we'll have the piece that we need.
That's, Ed just said, the money's there to allow it to do it. It's more the coordination of flipping the switch and yes,
For both?
yes.
Okay.
But so there's a lot more coordination and making sure everything's going to work before you...
Right, so would someone like to make a motion after that discussion to move forward with this plan?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please, Barbara?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is
And
carried.
again, I would like to compliment it. really is pretty amazing to see how many more on a monthly basis are using the site more and more for informational purposes. So, keep up the good work. That's excellent.
And just to connect to that, we have gotten about, I would say, a half a dozen different troubleshooting requests, whether it's different issues. Some of them, not all, have been township-related issues, so we have had to forward stuff over to the county on different issues, but people have started to see that and utilize that service also. Last week I went to the DOT to get a pre-construction meeting with the Route 50 Tuckahoe River project. Contractors getting mobilized. He's been awarded. He has made a proposal, a value engineering proposal on changing, instead of having a 2-lane, one in each direction, temporary bridge, to construct the bridge in a shorter duration, but have an alternating one-way traffic scenario with a traffic signal on the bridge. He hasn't finalized all those details to the DOT. Once the DOT has it, they'll pass that value engineering proposal onto the township for consideration, as well as Atlantic County, Calumet County, and Corbin City to take a look at. But I just wanted to let the committee know that the DOT is going to possibly be looking at that scenario.
I know one of the big concerns was there's a lot of an emergency situation, a lot of firemen living in the Corbin City area.
Right.
They're responding this side of the bridge, and then they have to respond back to that side.
There's no proposal that there would have to utilize a detour. There would always be just a determination of whether it's one-way traffic, and part of that proposal would be if it would come in, the emergency services would have the ability to override the traffic control and turn it to a green situation in whichever direction of traffic they needed to proceed.
There was a meeting between myself and Chief Potter, Chief Carter from Tuckahoe, and Paul, and the contractor from the state regarding that. And they originally wanted to go through the whole, all the way around thing, and we said that's just not going to happen. And the concern was getting Tuckahoe firemen over and then back over again, as well as the ambulance. So they were all brought up, and this was the solution that we kind of came up with. And we don't know. Now, I was away this past week, and during the week, the mayor of Corbin City called me concerned about the Phil Collins, one of the committee people, council people over there, concerned about that particular plan. I have yet to call him back, which I'll do tomorrow, and then we'll get together with that, get that squared away. We don't see a problem. One of the proposals is that during the busy summer season, that will not occur. There will be two-way traffic during the summer season. That's what the email said.
Until we really see the proposal and the fine points of it, I think we have to wait.
We're in the loop, we're very aware of it, and it'll be something similar to what was going on in Stratford when the Horses Inlet Bridge was closed. There was a traffic light there that allowed for one-way traffic back and forth, and then the emergency vehicles. They didn't have control over it, but they were available to get back and forth over. So I can see it potentially working out if all the details will work out.
And I think one of the advantages is it could potentially cut the construction time down by at least one season of impact.
How long do they anticipate they can do this?
Under the way it's designed and proposed, I think it's almost a 2.5, 3-year project.
It was 15 or more years getting here, so.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is it's everything's coming to fruition at the same time. The Parkway Bridge is going to be built, that one's going to be built, so there's going to be a lot of construction, and the gas line, right, that's going to be on England, so there's going to be a lot of construction around the township.
First Street Bridge, place.
But in any case, obviously we'll keep you informed and when we get more concrete about it. I was more concerned about, this value engineering, who gets the value? The state? One of they gives the value to the township. That's what I'd like to see.
And obviously, the Route 49 bridge over the railroad track we've done that one, that's an issue.
Yes.
And then more ahead of the river, we're talking about the river on the ground.
Okay, anything else?
That's all I had this evening.
Thank you. Barbara?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Jay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item, and it's on our website, just looking at it, and we talked about it here, not here yet, but throughout the fire companies and the investment in the township. We have a junior firefighter camp that's going on for 4th to 8th graders. It has been put out in the local papers. It'll be pretty interesting. It's going on the end of August. All the mainland fire companies, the rescue squad will be involved, and if you look for an application, go on our website or go on the upper rescue website, go to the township website or upper website. It's a good thing, and should be quite interesting. Look forward to it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Curtis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I have nothing.
Okay. Tony?
Thank you. I have a few things. One, we have a resolution for the last regarding 260 Route 49. But nothing has gone. We received the email concerning the property. There's a lot of, it's been left abandoned.
I can't hear you.
Abandoned it.
Do you want the resolution?
Somebody wants to be back and forth with that, doing a job. However, I think that the badge is pushing, just be better. That's why I asked.
It's, yeah, that's number 10 on the agenda, right? Authorizing a notice of violation and abatement of nuisance under Township Code Section
10.
1110. It's item number 10 on the agenda. That's the 260 Route 49? Yeah, yeah. That's on the agenda. That's number 10.
So you want to talk about that, or?
That's what, yeah, we'll vote on it then. If you want to discuss it now, you can, but essentially, under the township ordinances, we can clean it up. And I also received a letter, it was in our mail, for additional contact information for banks that have property that are in foreclosure, and I forwarded that to Shelley earlier today and spoke to her about it, and that contact information is different than the contact information that she had previously for the foreclosing lien holder. So she's going to follow up with that as well.
I will talk about it later.
Okay.
There's a patch shoulder on the station right outside of Fred's auto shop. Barbara's contacted the county already. It's been over a week. We talked about it last meeting. Nothing's been done about it. No cones. It has not been patched. Nothing. Last week, actually, bicycles fell. I stopped, refused to help. And something needs to be addressed. The county's not going to
Where is that?
It's right just south of Fred's auto, right there, by his driveway. It's the, I think it was a utility company did looking up the street. It's well over 3 years, I believe, and they haven't been back on either the county or a utility company. It's a safety hazard and it needs to be addressed. I don't know, we have to go to the county to move on this.
There's also a big pothole on
The church
Stagecoach
goes
Road.
through it, which they haven't fixed yet.
There's also a big pothole on Stagecoach Road on, right before where the railroad tracks used to cross, south of Bud.
Yes.
Right in the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
You sent letters.
You sent an email.
And it's also I need to do something. Somebody actually fell.
They told me they were going
We can't
to
reach
address
somebody.
You were telling that.
I mean, I was able to stop, and the man fell. I was able to stop. Next time, somebody may not be able to stop. We can't make somebody get hurt or get killed.
I spoke to Dale Foster and to Frank McCall as well with regards to this particular pothole by Fred's Auto, and they did assure me that they would send someone out there to take a look at it and patch or put cones out or do whatever was necessary there. So,
Not even cones. We used to put somebody here, so they get to, not even that.
My guess is it's probably a water company.
Well,
No,
something-
it's
whoever
Verizon.
it is,
Verizon?
I think it's for,
whoever it is, somebody's going back here and patch it up.
All right, Paul, you'll follow up on that too? Thanks.
The other thing is I had an email from Mr. McGyver on Stagecoach, on Stagecoach and Evergreen, severe flooding. It's an ongoing issue, and Stagecoach still flood. Again, the county is aware of it, and nothing's been done about it.
I'm setting up a meeting with Mr. Tower to possibly look at allowing the county to build a impoundment on his property to help drain that area.
But it has to be going on for over 2 years to then explain to me. So it's not something that just started going over 2 years. I know it's first.
Well, we did meet with that gentleman and the senator and...
And since then, the county's been working on, determining how much of an area and volume that they would need for an impoundment in that area. And, over the last, I'll say, month, I've been going back and forth trying to set up a meeting, but the county's forwarded me on that copy of that plan so I can meet with Mr. Tower to try to work out, the final location so the county can then prepare an easement to allow the county to construct it.
Well, we got to get on it. It's long enough. The land is likely sell, and it's not just that section of stagecoach. You get up to the railroad tracks, that's all it's do. The county should, start building things that it's supposed to go.
It's been that way for about 10 years.
Well, it's much space long enough. 10 years been by, and still, we've got the same problem. It should be resolved.
Well, we took this 15 years to get elected.
Well, I mean,
It's not even
right.
I
I mean,
it's being long enough, and they have, these are taxpayers that send tax to the county, and they're trying to do what they should.
Not disagreeing.
So we should get on this.
We have been on it, actually. I mean, in fairness, I will say that I know that there's been negotiations. Part of the problem is where they drain it, and that's why Paul's meeting with Mr. Tower, because he's actually a key to this. If he accepts that, then this will work in the favor to make it go forward. Because I don't know if I mean, I'm not an engineer, but I remember them talking about the pipe that has holes in it or something, so it drains as it goes along.
Yeah,
Right.
it's one of the ways. There are ways to build it. It's just, the financial aspect of it, and where to build it. And, if we need to build something, a resolution or something, I think we should do that.
Well, it sounds like it's moving ahead, it's just moving ahead slow.
Well, if it is, it's been real slow. It's been 10 years, it's still nothing. Let's put some more in the wheel, make us move faster.
Well, again, it's not our jurisdiction, so we're trying to do the best we can, but honestly, it's not township, it's a township issue to try and help our residents, which is what we're trying to do. But ultimately, the person or the governing body that has the authority over it is the county. And that's what,
And they have
Put some pressure on more frequency.
and they have to negotiate with a private individual to get an easement to put a drainage well, so
Well, it might be in a different term. If they, they should be looking for that.
into what?
Looking for different alternatives. If that's not feasible, looking for something else. I'm sure there's ways to go.
Yeah, well, I'm not good at the engineering part of it, so.
They might get.
Anyway, so it sounds like we're developing a list for contacts with Mr. Foster, so.
But truly, I have to meet with Mr. Tower to coordinate the actual location.
Okay.
actually, if the county, if it doesn't work out with Mr. Tower, I think the township has that piece of property too, to go with something.
No, the only real low spot that it could actually get to would actually be behind the senior center.
Talking about that.
Yeah.
That's the county property.
Correct.
They will probably could be a jury. I know we get this money, but, it's something that should be done. Then when it rains, it is a safety on it, and clear. The morning is pretty hot. When I went almost every day myself, in my office in the morning, when it rains heavy, you gotta navigate through the water from now on. The water's up to the wheels.
All right, let's see what we can find out, see where we are with it, and good luck with that meeting. Hopefully, we'll get some answers that way.
That's all I have for now.
Okay, thanks. Edward.
I got a few things to report on. Happy to announce July 9th, South City had a home run derby that was sponsored by the Philadelphia Phillies. And two of our fine young athletes, one from Seaville, Abigail Craig, age 10, came in first for the girls division, the home run derby. And Christopher C.J. Fury of Stratford came in first for the 7th and 8th graders, 8-year-olds, excuse me.
So it sounds to me we should do a resolution recognizing
Yeah,
that. huh?
that's, I would make the suggestion, we would like to make a motion that we do a resolution for these two fine.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insero?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Secondly, we experienced some issues with the well out of Amanda's field. I don't know if everybody else was aware of it, but I happened to be out that way today and just happened to show up when they were pulling the rest of the well point out. And it looks like there's some extensive damage to the shaft in the wellhead. So it looks like they're going to falls on top of it, and I'm sure we're going to be facing some costs on that to repair that and get it up and running. Hopefully, over the next few days, Mother Nature will be watering our fields for us. But as of right now, it's in the hands of the well company, so we'll keep everybody posted. Paul was in the company?
I forget the name of the company that finally
I know we
was able to contact it.
dealt with them on all of our well issues.
That's also part of the fire protection system.
Exactly. Yeah, Ed was out there, and we conversed over, alternative areas for them to get water, so it helps to fill our tanks with fire.
Well, do you have the pump down here?
Especially in this neck of the woods, it's not like it's not like an integral part, it's a supplemental portion of the fire protection system. They have a pump as well at the tower at the firehouse, but also they have some hydrants up and down that street, and then but beyond that, there's no hydrants between.
Oh, no, I hear you.
So, like for Sunset Acres, it would be perfect to
It'll be what you pull out.
And then finally, last Friday, the mayor, myself, Paul, we met with Freeholder Gabor, and it looks like we're going to start on the seating system.
They started. There was trucks there today.
Okay, yep. So they told us they were going to start bringing dumpsters out and getting ready for construction. So what was it, starting this month all the way into November and December?
They
December's
said,
the end date, right?
they said that they thought they could get it done by the end of the year with a potential opening first of the year, January, sometime in January. So, but what's great about it is the entire exterior is going to be redone. The interior is going to be redone with everything, all new, fixtures and floors and all that kind of stuff. They were picking out colors and all those kind of things. So the project, although it was somewhat delayed, is finally on track. And I think we should acknowledge Freeholder Gabor for staying with us, because that's one project that, although it's been a little slower than we anticipated, it's certainly been on the priority list, and we're finally seeing it, the construction starting. So, and apparently, well, based on, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like the construction crew had all their permits in place that they needed, and
Yes.
The architect for the building was happy with everything that was moving forward. So I think everybody's finally aligned, and they're going to move forward with this. And construction, like I said, just started today. There were some trucks there, and I think we'll see more and more people working there in the next week or two.
Much needed resource, so it looks like it's finally on the way. That's all I was reporting, sir.
Okay, I just have a few things. I will be meeting with FEMA, and I've asked Dan to join me if he's available, as well as Paul, to discuss the FEMA funding, the allocation that the township's responsible for appears to be lowering to more like a 90-10 split versus the original 75-25. So we're going to meet, and we're still going to look at all angles. Obviously, we've talked about that we've gotten approval from the Army Corps of Engineers, but what's good about the FEMA part is that we need to, and I'm sure it's on here later on, we need dune grass, and we need more snow fencing that we use for sand, for dunes. There's a lot of things that may make sense to do this with a 90-10 split, so we're going to sit down on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock and talk to FEMA to see what options we have. We talked a little about the website, that people were using it. Prior to this meeting, I was at over by the Deauville and Strathmere. The MSRO is going on. Lifeguards host a yearly meeting for multiple sclerosis. They raise upwards of over $5,000 yearly, and they have really the most participants they've ever had. They have over 40 boats from a lot of the local lifeguard teams from Atlantic and Cape May County, and they had over 45 people do various forms of paddle boarding and kayaking and all those kind of things. So, I also want to acknowledge our lifeguards who have been quite successful this year with some of the competition. We always stress that the lifeguards are there to protect the public, and they do a great job of it. But there's a tradition in lifeguards from Atlantic and Cape May County that they meet. And our lifeguards took 2 races in a 2-day period. They won the Besh and Callahan in North Wildwood, and that is all the lifeguards teams from Strathmere south to Cape May. And then they won the Tri-Resort, that was Saturday a week ago, and they won the Tri-Resort last Monday, which was against Sea Isle and Wildwood. Our small life-saving staff is one of the smaller groups of individuals, and it's good to say that they're not only in great shape and well-trained to protect the public, they're also fit enough to be very competitive in a lot of these races. So I think we have a great team, and I'm very happy with what they've done. They've made a lot of rescues this year, and everything has been successful. And I believe they're also doing a drill with Strathmere Fire Company for a water emergency. If someone gets hurt, whether it's on a jet ski or a boating accident, whether it's in the inlet or around the Strathmere area. So they're not only working saving lives, they're also working with the local fire district over in Strathmere. The only other thing I have is we had talked about putting together a green team, and a green team is really just a group of individuals that can sit down and discuss energy options and opportunities not only for the township but really for the residents. And so there were 4 individuals, and I asked Barbara to make copies for all of you. There are 4 individuals that have submitted their names. And they are Caitlin Wentz and Karen Mitchell and Ralph Cooper, and there's one other individual here. Myra Small. They all have some backgrounds in environmental studies, or one's from the Upper Township Historical Society, and so what we have talked about is putting together this little committee or subcommittee that will be these 4 individuals, because we talked about how many. I talked with Paul as to how many people we thought would work. So if we use these 4 individuals and have Paul and then whoever might be interested from the township committee, we can get this off the ground a little bit and start this team going. And Paul, if you want to elaborate a little bit more about what the responsibilities of this committee would be.
Well, it's to go and focus on, there's various, prioritized topics to apply for the New Jersey sustainability, and they're looking at different aspects of building conservation and just different conservation techniques that you can promote throughout the township. Most of them don't even have to be, regulation-wise, but whether you want to help out with the Earth Day or just different things like that, of promoting that type of a sustainability and growth within the township, and what things should be prioritized and focused on.
You mentioned township committee to be honored too, or?
We need 1 township committee member that would like to serve on it. Okay. So do you have, I'll make a motion that we approve the 4 individuals that have submitted their name to serve on it. We'll have Anthony and Sarah serve as the township liaison, and Paul, will have you on there as our township engineer. Is that the, so I'll make that motion to approve those 6 members for the team.
Second.
Any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. So Barbara, let's move on to the resolutions.
Okay. Item number 1, congratulating employee David Pinello of the Upper Township Department of Public Works for his winning entry in the Upper Township Safety Award Program for the 3rd quarter of 2013.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 2, appointing the 2013 season beach patrol personnel.
This is just the ones that we talked about last week. This will bring us up to where we need to be for the rest of the summer, hopefully. So I'll make a motion that we hire Joe LaRosa Jr., Mike Casales, and Brooker Chase.
Second.
Mr.
Would you call the
Barr?
roll?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, appointing Keely M. Barrett as a part-time employee to the Upper Township Division of Emergency Medical Services.
Move the resolution. Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, appointing Gibson Associates to perform professional land surveyor services regarding the official tax map of the Township of Upper.
Move the resolution.
Second.
We talked about this last meeting, that this will be, the next time we're going to do this, we're going to go off this, right?
Correct. Once we get done, the priority changes for, to get our tax maps in place for the revaluation, the modernization and normalization stuff, and the updates for next year, yes, that would go out to.
Just to see where we stand.
Not for bid, but for our
RFP.
RFP.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 5, appointing Adams, Raymond, and Hagan Associates as a licensed site remediation professional for the remediation of the site known as the Estate of Samuel Maglaccio property.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And this is memorializing what we've talked about in the past. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, in support of roadway improvements at the intersection of State Highway Route 9 at milepost 26.75 and Sea Sounds Avenue.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, and again, this is memorializing the discussion we had last meeting on that dangerous curve there on Route 9. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, authorizing a USA Triathlon Association sanctioned international distance race to be held in Beasley's Point, New Jersey on Sunday, August 11th, 2013.
Move the resolution for the purpose of discussion.
Second.
And I'm sure part of the discussion will be, do they have all the necessary paperwork, documents, permits, insurance, everything else that we asked in the past?
Yes, they do. The only thing that we are waiting for at this point, and they have up until 1 week prior to the event to get it in, is their lifeguard certifications and also the appropriate fee that's required for the event.
I mean, this is an event that's been advertised, sold, and organized. It's going off on the 11th. They're asking now, we're not having another meeting between now and then. I believe, are we?
No.
No. question.
They should have had their paperwork together months ago.
The
Yeah, I'm
The
saying-
This is absolute,
Now, what is it that's still pending?
the resolution states that the lifeguard certs can be submitted up to 1 week prior to the event.
So they haven't broken our own policy.
but they're asking for approval for an event they've already sold. That's where I have a problem, and it's year after year after year, and this is the third or fourth time this race has happened. This should be turnkey what they have to do. Every year we have to come in, they torture our staff, and they can't get the paperwork together. It's torturous.
Well, I think one of the things that the lady was looking for was that assurance that she was going to be approved, rather than go out and spend $1,400 for insurance, and now that should not be approved.
She was already selling the race.
That was for the surf
That's
camp.
for-
That was for the surf camp.
this one, I'm sorry.
Different thing.
Well, it's been successful in the past, and again, part of the reason why we consider these things is to bring in outside individuals to experience Upper Township, and hopefully at some point they'll decide that this is a great place for them to invest in the business or property or something, so
And that's certainly the positive side of it.
Right.
The negative side of it is they're not very well organized, and they need to get it back, they need to get it together.
Yeah, you're right, but can we approve this and with a contingency on this?
well, I think they're not going to be able to move forward without having everything in place. So, I mean, if we approve this, I think that we can rely on Barbara to ensure that the fee is paid, and I really think that the certification of lifeguards is probably one of the easier things that they can accomplish, so. So you have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? If there's not, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
No.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
The motion is carried with 4 in favor and Mr. Corson voting no. Item number 8, authorizing the township engineer to solicit bids for beach grass and sand fence for Strathmere Beach.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? Why don't you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
I will tell you, Paul, that as a person that frequents the beach in Strathmere on a weekly basis, probably 3 times a week, sometimes 2, the beaches and the dunes are really built up extremely well already. We have a great supply of sand that continues to come up, and the dunes are rebuilding. There's a lot of vegetation growth, that's wild natural growth that wasn't planted. But the dune grass that was planted south of Vincent has really flourished.
Yes.
Now, did we not go north because of the birds' habitat there, or what? Why?
For the fencing?
Well, no, the dune grass that was planted, there's a huge pile of dune grass from Vincent heading south that has just proliferated this summer.
And that just goes to show that, and a lot of that dune grass was planted by the environmental club over in Strathmere, and they kind of do a small planting each year in different blocks. But, as long as the erosion isn't so bad that it washes away the roots, even though, it may lose a little bit of sand or they get covered up, the grass should still come up and flourish. So, it just shows that we were able to survive a lot of the storm, both this, Sandy and Irene, was because of the monies and the effort that we go into putting dune grass and dune fence out on the beach. That's money well spent, I think, in protecting our infrastructure over there.
And like Paul said, it's a credit to our residents of Strathmere and volunteers that planted too, and they do a great job.
But this is going to cover, we did do a fencing project in the spring, and that did about probably 3/4 of the beach. So we have, part of the FEMA allocation that we had, because we essentially, during the storm, lost 2 complete rows of fencing. So we had the first contract was to do 1 row of fencing. So this next contract will be to do the second row of fencing, and then to essentially have grass planted the entire length, almost the entire length of the beach, to supplement what's already out there.
Well, it looks great, because, I mean, I've talked to people that hadn't been down here since the storm, and they were really shocked as how wide the beach is at this point, and how well built up the dunes still are. So, that's great. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, authorizing the mayor to execute a deed of dedication and perpetual storm damage reduction easement on behalf of the Township of Upper with respect to Block 822, Lot 2, owned by John J. and Anna B. Hughes for the Great Egg Harbor Inlet to Townsend's Inlet, New Jersey Beach Replenishment Project.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And this is just to...
It's a small section of this property that the Army Corps would like as part of their beach project, and the owner was kind enough to give the easement, and we just have to accept it with the mayor's signature.
And this was different. The reason why we're looking at this now was when the municipal beach fill projects that we did back in 2009 and 2011, we didn't need to fill on this property, but because the Army Corps project has a more encompassing limit of work, we found, if you remember about a month ago, we did several township properties that had an easement, and then this property, the other properties that they identified, we've kind of coordinated the project work limit lines to be coincidental with the bulkhead that's along most of Strathmere, so that no other easements were going to be required for the work. And then this would be our last beach easement that we need for the Army Corps project.
Good.
Okay. Would you like to call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Ansara?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, authorizing a notice of violation and abatement of nuisance pursuant to Township Code Section 11-1.
Move that resolution. Second.
And this is the Route 49 property that is considered a nuisance and has obnoxious growth, and according to our ordinance, the Township Committee has to declare that and authorize a notice of violation to be sent, and if it's not abated, the Township can take action to abate it and charge it back against the taxes.
As I was saying before, this is about a month and a half now it's been going on. Shelly's going out here a couple of times already. The bag is just going around. She can make a full on lots in Township. The people next door should not be put up with the weeds on this side. Somebody with a tent last week, they caught it. They went here, got it passed through, and they said, "I'm not doing this to my left." They haven't been back. I did this so that probably was going to like here and cut the grass and charge the back. And we should.
Well, actually, we have a new contact number for the bank, so maybe it will get done.
Yeah, by the time it'll be the fall, and there'll be money to cut it and what we're going to cut.
It's 10 days.
I think that's what they're waiting for. They're hoping for that. We're not going to send nothing, we're going to keep the instant running around, and by the time it's said and done, they're going to have to do it.
Well, there's not, you know, we'll get through this one, but I will say that there are some other properties that are in the same situation that, I think we need to start identifying them and collaborating on some of the other properties, because there are even several that I've noticed, and there's several in Beasley's Point that I've noticed, so.
And if you will look into it, I bet every one of them is owned by a bank.
There was a couple on 50 or Hope Horson Road there at one time. And I made a phone call to Shelley, and actually the bank worked with them and got it cleaned up. But sometimes the bank...
But now they see that when they're renting it, and now we can wait for a phone call or some action, and I think we should have the action taken sooner than this. It just can't go on. They're abusing the township, they're abusing the people next to these properties, and they should be put up with this. So what we have to do, give them 10 days notice, and if it's
It's 10 days, and then after the 10 days, if it's not abated, the township can take action to correct it and charge it back as part of the tax lien.
I don't get an motion or whatever to do that, give them 10 days notice. If they've had plenty of that notice, they have not complied, so let's give them 10 days. If they're not here, then we'll go ourselves.
All right, well, before we do that, let's vote on this resolution.
That's what the resolution
Oh, it
says.
says that, okay. All right,
I
so
mean,
we got
that's
a
what
first
the
and a
ordinance
second.
says, and it's giving the authority to the zoning officer to take that action.
Then I think we should incorporate it with, like Lynn said, look at the other ones and see what we can do with that, because it just can't go on.
Is it 10 days from now or 10 days
The
after?
notice, if she sends out the notice tomorrow, it's 10 days from tomorrow that they have to fix it.
That's where I was headed. It's a certified mail, right?
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes,
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Colombo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, authorizing the award of a contract with J.W. Scott Service Station Equipment Company. Service Station Equipment Company.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
And who's going to fill us in on
This
this?
is for the pump equipment at for the vehicle fueling at the Public Works building.
Okay.
Because normally, in a situation like this, we would just issue a purchase order, and that serves as a contract. But because of that amount of that award is over the 17.
17.5, it's above the pay-to-play threshold, so technically we need to do the resolution, we need to approve the contract saying that we have the pay-to-play paperwork, that they've not made any contributions to the township. There are other political subdivisions.
was this, did this go as a bid or just a,
These were
It's an
quotes.
RFP.
These,
They were the proposals.
yeah,
Quotes.
yeah.
And this was the lowest
you
proposal?
have-
Actually, yeah, I believe
They were
it was
substantially lower.
substantially lower.
No, these are not state contracts, somebody else was state contract, but this was substantially lower than the other two quotes we had received. So we're just following our pay-to-play guidelines, that's all. You've already, in a prior resolution, you've approved the purchase of the pump system, and this is just to comply with our pay-to-play.
is this the whole thing, Paul?
Excuse me?
This is the whole thing?
Yes,
It'll be, get up with money,
yes.
whatever you want.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes,
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 12, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 10, 2013, and authorizing the use of up to $20,000 from the Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of street signs.
I'll move the introduction of ordinance number 10, 2013, with a public hearing and final adoption scheduled for August 26th meeting.
Second. And what this does is this will get us compliant with the federal guidelines, I think?
Correct, correct.
And I'm sorry, I had asked Paul, I was down in North Wildwood, and now that we're looking to do signs, I was looking to see what towns have what. I looked at Sea Isle, I looked at Ocean City. North Wildwood really has some very nice, very readable, very vision-friendly signs. They're a little wider, and the lettering's bigger, and they really seem to reflect well. And I'm down the other end. Anyway, I asked Paul to contact them to see what company, or I don't know, we're obviously putting this out for some sort of bid or whatever, but I certainly like the ones that are there. I think they're very friendly, and I think from a public safety standpoint, it would really help a lot. They're very reflective with the lights on them. You can see them clearly.
And that's part of the whole new standard as far as the bigger signs, bigger lettering, and more reflectivity.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, honestly, out of all the towns that they've been in, they seem to have one of the nicer signs, street signs that I've seen. It looks like they've replaced their whole thing like we're trying to do.
They've probably just been replaced within the last 2 months.
Yeah. Okay. So again, we'll have the public hearing. There's no public input at this point, so.
The public hearing, if it's okay with you, to be August 12th, not August
Okay, I can
16th.
change that to August 12th.
Can I make a suggestion to our own street signs? I don't know what to do. I followed this a little bit, there's actually people that make furniture out of these old street signs. Probably if we were to file them, photograph them, we could probably sell them on Governors, believe it or not. Instead of just putting them in the junk pile. So if we replace the street signs, I think we should tell our people to save them and sell them. It's just all I have to say.
The old signs?
We might even have residents that might want to purchase them to hold on to them too. So.
Sell them on Gulfview. What's that?
Nothing scrap, except scrap.
You'll get scrap price for red. You'll get scrap price for red. You'll get scrap price on Gulfviews.
Okay, so we'll work on that. Let's get the signs bought and put up first. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 13, American Cancer Society requests the use of Amanda's Field for the Bark for Life event on August 17th.
Make a motion to approve this.
Second.
I attended it last year, the mayor was a very nice event.
Good. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 14, furnishing and delivery of refuse collection vehicles and refuse containers.
All right, so let's hear the deal here. I know that, Tony, you met, and Paul met, and Dan, so let's hear what's going on.
After our last meeting where we had discussed awarding the trucks, the automated trucks and the containers, the higher bidder, which had no exceptions to our bid, but was probably $20,000 more in money, got in touch with us and felt that he wanted to meet with us to go over his bid, and where he felt that in other towns where he's bid, when vendors had so many exceptions, they were, I guess, summarily rejected because they didn't meet the specs, and they were potentially not awarded the bid. And that's what he had felt was going to happen, and that's one reason why he didn't contact us earlier. But after he had heard that, what the potential recommendation was going to be for this meeting, he asked for a meeting to discuss the variations in the low bidder's bid and, why the price difference. We met with the bidder, I believe it was on Thursday morning, and went over...
Let's clarify this. This is just for the automated truck. It was item 1.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, that's the only item we're discussing.
Correct.
So the trash containers and the rear end technology, they're fine.
They're fine. They're fine. So, if you want to, you can continue with a recommendation at our next meeting to award those 2 items. But, in reviewing the items, he gave us about, I'd say, a half a dozen to 8 or 9 items that he felt that were listed as exceptions to our low bidder, that they were materially different and potentially affected the price. When I reviewed them, the items like the 190-day delivery time, the liquidated damages, and there were some other painting requirements and different things, they were really not materially significant, nor they affected price. There were, however, 2 items that when you review them, they were, I didn't realize this, and neither did our Public Works or our mechanic, that they were, when we discussed the options, they were optional items, but when we put them in the spec from that bidder, we didn't list them as options. And because we asked for those things, or he kind of included them because he felt they were like extra value things. The first thing is, was a heavy-duty arm. It has a thicker, heavier chain. When you read their literature, it appears that that's just part of their new line during this year that, hey, I've got a heavy-duty arm, and we've made the chain bigger. But it's actually an option that they provide, that if you want a longer service life, you get a larger chain that helps lift the container. He kind of gave us some pricing of how that would be cheaper if we hadn't asked for the option. He could have bid the price cheaper. The second item was there were some discrepancies between the chassis and how we described the wheelbase, the dimension, and when we described the body, we asked, in part of our initial discussion in deciding how large to make the truck, certain truck manufacturers will allow you to, on the rear of the truck, to increase the tailgate so you can get more capacity in the truck. And you can do that afterwards. So if we say ordered a 31-yard truck today with a 2-yard tailgate, you could essentially take that 2-yard tailgate off and add a 4-yard tailgate to it and get some extra volume. And we put some language in there. But from when we did the first bid or first started talking about the bid and then we had to advertise the bid, we changed the total volume of the truck, which we didn't change the wheelbase. So there were some discrepancies we left some language, we changed some language in a section, but we didn't change others that was conflicting with earlier. It costs more additional money to provide a truck with a wheelbase of 250 inches of wheelbase compared to a truck with 210 inches of wheelbase. And they just increase the size of the tailgate, because obviously the size of the tailgate, it's cheaper to build the tailgate bigger than to provide the additional wiring and hydraulics in that extra length of body. So there is a material cost difference in that. When Dan, Barb, and I discussed, and Tony discussed essentially those two material cost items differently, I think I'd like to make a recommendation that we rebid the trucks, because
Just item 1.
just item 1, reject the bids and rebid them without the description of the heavy-duty arm as a requirement, and to clarify the wheelbase and the total capacity of the truck that we're looking at, and take out that optional tailgate as a potential. And then that way, it gets rid of some of those discrepancies that may have a material.
Let me put it in its legal context, if I may. Because it was after the fact discovered that there were some technical deficiencies in the specs that would have led a bidder not to bid an item or not to bid as low, that is a reason for rejecting the bids and substantially revising the specs. Just for that one item. And frankly, it provides a better and more competitive bid, because we have a high bidder that said, if I had understood the specs and the specs didn't have technical difficulties, I would have bid what you wanted and I could have been much more competitive. And that is a reason under the law to reject all the bids. And frankly, I think you should. It's my recommendation as well, once that was discovered about the specs. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Barbara agrees with that.
There was something else to the conduit they had, from a single to a triple conduit.
Well, that's just that's just, when you have the extra long, the additional length, that's what I described, the extra length in the chassis, that additional length, because of that, it makes it more expensive compared to putting the capacity in the tailgate.
We've rejected all the bids before on a similar situation, and actually we came in way ahead, and you can see it about $20,000.
I guess my only question is, and I'm not opposed to anything that I'm hearing right now, but is there any concern that not getting that heavy-duty arm, it makes sense? I mean,
my suggestion suggestion would be is to list that as an option.
Right.
That if for some chance the vendor that supplies a heavy-duty arm becomes the lowest bidder, then you could award that as an option if their base bid was lower than the comparing it apples to apples base bid of the vendors that may submit bids.
Yes.
I mean, one reason why, yes, it was in the bid, because I agree that providing that heavy-duty arm, it's a little heavier steel and a heavier chain, is going to give it a longer life. At any point that chain breaks, you're talking about potentially that vehicle's down for at least a week by the time that you special order in a new chain, get it switched out. You're talking about that vehicle's down for a week, we're going to have to rent another truck for a week, so you're talking about $3,000 potentially each time that chain may break, that you may have to.
no, but that's my point. I'm just a little trying to understand this. If we take out the heavy-duty arm, and say it's an option, are we confident that that arm that's there will last?
You already awarded or recommended, before we knew this information about the specs, one without, and heavy duty is really just, as I understand their manufacturer's nomenclature, that it's really just this design spec. I believe it's a 6x6 design, and it's really just, it's made out of stronger material. But the low bidder currently provided an arm which your engineer already recommended that it was sufficient for our purposes. This is just over and above that. And I think that's why Paul is saying, we can do it as an option and just see how the numbers go. But if, let's say, the low bidders comes in and none of the other bidders can provide this 6x6, then you're actually you're not increasing the competitive capacity if you make it a requirement. You're not going to have other people bidding.
Well, I would hope, like you were saying about the chain breaking, we're going to have 2 of these trucks. I mean, the chain's like a big bicycle chain. I would hope, if we're going to have 2 of these trucks on the street every day, that we have enough width, get another chain, because that's where it's right, and have it on the shelf. I mean, instead of waiting a week for
No,
breakfast.
you're right, that's something we could address afterwards, but the thing is that for bidding purpose, apple to apple, that's where we have to go.
Right.
That problem, have that as an option.
Committee bidded it the way it was spec'd originally, and then given the manufacturer respective bidders an opportunity to bid it, and the arm, if that's what we decide we want to do, if all the bids are in, we say, okay, what costs us another, whatever, works out, then that's what we do. That's the way I...
So the point is, we're confident that, and I don't want to say lesser grade, but the one that's not the heavy duty it will work
Yes.
for what our purposes.
Yeah, we've reviewed that truck, tested that truck, and looked it over, and there's the staff at the Public Works Department is confident that, yeah, it's going to function and service the township well.
Okay.
Now, when we put these things out to bid, are the bidders afforded an opportunity to sit down and go over the specs to make sure that there's no confusion here next time?
What happens is you don't necessarily have a meeting, but they have the opportunity to send in comments and actually requests or questions, and based on that give and take, Paul will clarify. We may have to push the bid date, receipt back, but they have that give and take.
Okay, so
Yes.
we have that opportunity.
Yes. What happened was, because of the technical deficiencies, the one manufacturer thought that all the higher level stuff was required, so he didn't bid it with the lower level options. And there was some you couldn't tell, I mean, frankly, the size, you couldn't tell where the spec was written, which was really required. And that's why it really is a reason to be able to reject all bids and then clarify the specs.
And the low bidder took exception to those items because they don't provide that heavy-duty arm that was described, and they bid the chassis the way they supply that chassis, giving us the final capacity that we requested, not in I'll say, in the combination of body capacity and tailgate capacity that we were looking for.
So based on that, to me, it's like, this would be a double win situation for us with regard to lowering the bids, or lowering the overall cost, and we're getting a unit that we, and our professional people would like to see. So based on that, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we reject all the bids, based on the facts that Mr. Young and Mr. Dietrich gave us, and we did the items, item number 1.
Second.
Can I just ask one question?
When you say the items, it's really just the automated truck, trash truck, 2 trucks.
Yes.
And
All the other bids are
I just want to clarify, are we okay to start bidding? We can re-advertise before the next meeting for the truck, or do we have to wait till?
I don't know if Barbara would be okay with that. I think she needs the resolution in hand.
Resolution before we can do bids. We have to wait for the next meeting.
Just for timing of putting it.
So we have a motion to reject, and then we come back and say we'll make a motion to go ahead and rebid again?
Authorize.
You're
Are you gonna do it?
going to get resolutions at the next meeting that are going to confirm this. I believe your motion was to reject all the bids and substantially revise the specifications, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then, obviously, we'll have a resolution for the next meeting to, the revised specifications will be bid.
Can we do a resolution now? Or is it time we get out of that?
We don't have it prepared for you. We didn't know what your decision was going to be.
And at the next meeting, we'll also have.
And
resolution.
purchasing-wise, Barbara, I believe, needs that resolution to be able to authorize him to go out.
It's not just by motion, we need the resolution.
But we'll also have the resolutions awarding the bid for the rear loading truck
And can.
for your presentation.
Cool. But are we going to purchase a candidate before we buy the trucks? like the cart before the horse. I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
where are we going to store
We
it?
may have to, because we have 60 days from the receipt of the bids to, I don't know if we're going to be.
Where are we going to store them? Because I
We
can't...
have the usually delivery date.
Okay.
Not only that, the very low truck will do the same truck again.
Well, we're not gonna pick up all those cans in one truck.
We can delay the delivery.
No, but, okay, as long as we have it coordinated, well, first of all, let's do the vote, and then we'll have a little bit more discussion.
Did we have a second? I'm sorry, I didn't
Yes.
get
Yeah.
it.
You know, who seconded it?
Correct.
Okay.
First, okay. Okay, Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Right, so as long as we can delay the delivery, because it makes no sense to put cans out there if we don't have the trucks to pick them up, because that's going to really cause confusion with people. So, you know, I mean, we're going to go through a real education and testing period here, and it needs to be coordinated with the trucks we need to make them work, you know what I mean?
The bid item for the containers prescribed for the coordination of the delivery of the containers with the coordination of the delivery of the automated vehicles.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hereby move. Is that all right, Mr. Mayor?
No, I have to open up to the, well, you can do the payment of bills, go ahead.
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and incorporated fully in the minutes of this meeting.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion
There
is
are
carried.
4 reports from municipal departments: Animal Control, Municipal Court, GIF Safety Committee, and the Tax Collector Certification mailing of the 2013 final and 2014 preliminary tax bills and advice copies.
Do we have to make a motion to accept the tax collector accounting?
I'm not sure what report that is. Is it a?
It's not,
It's the certification of their mailing.
Yeah, I
of
wanted
the
to do that by
taxes.
separate resolution. Not resolution, but
Separate.
we're going to motion to accept all of the reports anyway. Will that, you want that separately?
well, just do the tax assessors
I'll
one.
make a motion if we take
Or collectors.
If we accept the tax collector certification then.
That's what
All right, so call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes, and just for the
Motion
record, the other 3 reports, we'll accept them in a motion for as well. So that's the Animal Control, Municipal Court, and GIF Safety Committee. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, at this time, I'll open up to the public. If anyone would like to address the Township Committee, now's the time to do so. Please come up, state your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Kitty Nagler, Tuckahoe. I'm concerned about the trash trucks. I don't know, I'm sure you gentlemen have driven around the township, but have you really taken a look at your residents and the residents that these people live in? We have a quarter-mile driveway. Now, these are the stones we put in, okay? Allows us impasse into the property during snow, sleet, rain, Hurricane Sandy, anything else. I looked at the trash cans that you had out there, and they look like a typical garden wheel. I'm sure it wouldn't hold up. I really think, and the limitations we put out right now, anywhere from 5 to 10 30-gallon trash bags, which is easy to transport down and we don't mind, in the back of a car, a Civic. Now, how or what? We can't see the end of our driveway, so if we leave those trash cans, and I'm sure if there's limitations or somebody else's break, these things are flimsy. Now, I don't know what we're supposed to do, drag that thing. You see, I have trouble walking. I don't think you really, it's great if this was a suburbia where everything is lined up in a straight row and whatever, but we're in the Pinelands. We didn't want to be in the Pinelands, but we're in it. And and we're trying to handle it. We can't see the end of the drive. The house was built in 1930, so it isn't like we can move it forward. I have a feeling, I feel like it's a scenario where people went shopping for a practical sedan and they got caught by the Corvette. I really think in the majority it would do our taxpayer that have to foot the bill if this becomes a monstrosity. And those things don't work out. To limit the amount of cans to use, not only that, how do you get the cans back and forth? I mean, we don't have money to afford to put a paved driveway in. So to meet the requirements of the Pinelands, we put stones in. Now, I think this thing is going to become a constant, how can I say, money loser. It'll be broken down arms, get stuck in somebody's cul-de-sac, or simply, what are we as residents supposed to be doing? Doing your work. Then I should have a reduction in my, if I'm not going to get the benefits of what your municipality is offering me in my taxes, then maybe my taxes should be lowered. If we have to take the trash in hand up there to your municipal building, or take it to the MUA, and I'm doing your job, because you didn't buy the right equipment. I think you have to, I don't think people have gone around and seen the conditions. A lot of these people are, I'm not the only one. Look at Stillman Town. Not everybody is parked along the road of 557. And now you're asking us to drag these things? How am I supposed to drag these things? And how are those things, and you say there's only allowed to have 2 containers. Well, that's great. What kind of family? Let me finish. I'm taking care of somebody. We have multiple, because my mother's 93 in a hospital bed at home. It's not. It's just bulk trash from trucks and things like that, but we have to take it out. And I see this going on where we start dumping because people can't put in a trash can. Where's it going to go? We try to maintain, because you have coyotes, and if you don't take care of it, they come and visit you. Now, I think you're putting a burden on us. It's great if everybody lived in suburbia, another town, where you just go right down the road. It isn't so, and I don't think you people are taking into consideration past Stagecoach and Route 9.
Well, I will say that during the time, which was an extended period of time, that we were reviewing what options were out there, we looked to other communities that are somewhat like us, and I don't want to compare Egg Harbor to us, but they're a very rural type community like us.
They're very much in a straight line.
No, they're not. No, that I won't agree with that one.
Fire Road, I mean, it's a pretty well straight line.
Not if you go back where some of the Hidden Creek Golf Course, all those areas back on Egg Harbor Township, are a lot of the properties mimic a lot of our kind of residential areas.
We handle 8 bags of 30-gallon containers right now, plastic bags that we put out for the last years that we've been out. What would harm? Not those. And how are you supposed to drag that thing?
Technically, if you read our ordinance and follow our ordinance for trash, your trash is not supposed to be loose in the bag. It's supposed to be in a can now.
Well, we can't drag it down there, and how are we supposed to drag it down?
So,
I mean, it's great in theory, but in practice, this is how it's been. I think the 2-man truck is a much more practical in the long run and then over the long haul.
the problem is we don't have a 2-man truck. We have 3-man trucks.
Well, you're talking about the new ones that are going to be 2-man trucks. I think that is a more practical than trying to get some robotic thing that looks spectacular, but in the long run, it's going to cost taxpayers when those things turn to be an outflow.
Right now, if you read the letter of our ordinance, trash is not supposed to be in a bag at the curb. It's supposed to be in a can of some sort.
Well, it's not a bag, but it can be in a trash bag, and that's what these are. These are meant to be.
No, it can't be in a trash bag.
Well, this is the first time in 30 years I've heard from anybody on this. Isn't this amazing?
Because they haven't registered.
What I'm saying is those things aren't going to get over these kind of stones. Those wheels are cheap little plastic wheels, are not meant for hauling anything except on a concrete smooth as this barrier right here is.
Well, I have a stone and gravel driveway.
Yeah, but you're basically, you can see from here to there. I'm talking a
That's because
quarter
I killed a
mile.
tree on my property.
But you're not on a quarter mile, and I'm telling you that's impossible. I walk with a cane and I don't have any knees at all. So you're asking how many elderly people to do this? Come on, folks. The way you had it with the idea too, nobody complained. All of a sudden now we scrapped that idea. And I said, as you said, I think they got taken by people who went for a practical idea and all of a sudden went, wow, look at the, the shine, the bling.
Now,
And
actually,
it sounds like it's going to be a problem.
actually, part of the reason why we considered some other options is our own staff went through the route and basically said they couldn't handle it using a two-man trash truck, that they would be in it.
Able to have two men that can handle the
Ms.
quantity.
Nagler, I'm telling you, the one thing I will assure you is that not only did this township committee go through an incredible amount of time trying to go through different systems, the engineer, public works, we had individuals that actually served on subcommittees for us that have been involved in the business, and there were a number of people that had a lot of input in this, and we were looking for a way to save money, to be efficient, and a practical system that would meet the demands of a 64 square mile township.
Well, you had, Mr. Hawkins, who came in here, who evidently kept telling you, since he does it for a living, that this is not going to fit some of the cul-de-sacs in there, and then you have backup problems and whatever. I think it's great if we all lived in straight lines and you went down to each little door and maybe 100 feet we're talking about. This is past 100 feet.
Well, if the trash truck doesn't fit the cul-de-sacs and the fire trucks aren't, we have bigger issues.
Well, I understand, but let's not get on to dramatics. We're talking about the trash right now. And the point is this, though, I think we're overreaching. And in this economy, I think asking a lot when that money could be put to other things in the township that needs to be done. And I think this is ridiculous to ask people to tread. I don't know how you're going to put that amount of trash into a little 95-gallon thingamajigger with little plastic wheels. Now, how in the bloodies, in the snow, and the ice, and everything else, are we supposed to do this?
Well, you have a choice of cans, the size of cans that you want.
That's when I looked at the large ones, the ones that were sitting out there.
Then you don't have to choose that. You could choose the 36.
Yes, but it's still, it narrows down, and you have these little tiny wheels I can get at Advantage right now for a garden, garden cart. They're not sturdy, they're not really, and I'm telling you, this is going to be an flop. People are going to start, and if you leave, I can't leave them down there. I have to drive them down with a car and then put them in there, because guess what? They'll disappear somewhere. Just like they do all the cans over at Summers Point and things like that for recyclables disappear. Isn't it funny how they show up somewhere else that somebody else all of a sudden has 5 of them and you don't have any? Then you have to then forward it out. This is what I'm saying, it's taxpayers' money being spent on something.
They're going to have GPS tags on them.
Mrs. Nagler, I've talked to some people about this with the same situation that you have. And some of them have already come up with a solution. What they're going to do is they're going to build like a trash enclosure down towards the end of the property, have the trash cans sitting down there, and then, just like you do now, bring your pickup truck, put all your stuff in the back of the pickup, come down to the end of the driveway, and fill the trash cans that you have up at the end of the driveway.
Okay, let me tell you a story to that. When somebody's down there with a case of beer, shooting deer and using their car to run over the deer in the middle of the night, and believe me, we put up with this, okay? If you leave anything down there, it tends to get demolished. So that's a very great idea if you have people who are responsible. We have quite a few history, and as I said, that is why it's not practical. After a while, this gets to be, I'm sure this will be, everybody's going to be going, why did we buy these things? When the 2-man would be perfect and it was kind of even, that's why I thought, okay, everybody's thinking logically. No, all of a sudden we have to go to the bling, to the Corvette,
Actually, a 2-man system was still going to utilize cans.
Yeah, but the point is this, though, is what we're utilizing now. We take the recyclables up because we wouldn't leave them down there because they run over them, and then you had 52-card pickup. All of it, and we've had that happen, where they just literally run over the bags, okay? So we leave them down there in time that somebody isn't going to have all night, all day to do that. And this has happened. There's no way. It's a shortcut from Millville down to look for a deer and run over them. We have we used to have a 52 herd deer population down there. So we have them where they put up some license plates that come down and run the deer over because they don't think they're going to get caught. We've had the, the conservation officers there, sometimes sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning, catching these guys that just...
I know, but let's just stay
What I'm
on.
trying to say is, it's nice to leave something there, but we can't because we can't see the end of the drive. You can see the end of your drive very clearly. What I'm saying is, I am in a situation where I have to use this kind of material so we don't bog down with the oil truck coming in or anybody else way to get out, and we can get out in the middle of ice and snow and God knows what else comes at us. We cannot pave our drive, and I don't think you should expect people to do is now you have to think what's practical. And I think what we're doing is we're getting over our heads, and there are going to be two things sitting there that are just going to be quagmired after they break down numerous times and can't do what the other trucks could have done. And I'd rather see it being spent. Particularly with the taxes are going up, I don't think we should see something as a mechanical arm at this time. I don't think the township can afford it.
We can't afford not to do it. We can not afford to put a
Oh, we
track.
can afford a two-man truck there, that would be fine. But
But-
the mechanical is
but-
costing us more and more as you keep
But
repeating.
Ms. Naylor, the two-man trash truck was still going to use the same containers that you're having a problem with anyway. So you may not agree with the automated arm, which, by the way, only requires one man to be on the truck, which we can potentially use.
Everybody keeps talking about
I know,
these trash
so you're not even
trucks.
letting me finish here.
Yeah, I will.
Okay?
And I know what we're running into. We're
Well,
running into
no.
a quarter mile up, and I have to wait for what, your trash truck to come, God knows when, and drag it back, because if you do leave it there, it's not going to be there when you come to retrieve it.
Well,
And this is happening in
I
other
think,
communities.
I mean, obviously you have, you're very compassionate, about some things, and, you have some issues, but, I would hate for us to start, turning in circles here. We have gone through this at least for the past year. We have gone through all kinds of
Pretty good up
systems.
until the beginning of
Well-
summer, and then somehow we have a complete change, so we thought, okay.
No, we haven't
everything's
changed from the
lawfully.
summertime. We
Did we
have
change
changed
spring?
after a meeting, back in, I believe it was March. We sat down with our public works, people that are out there that are in the field, and they tried to do some test runs, and it wasn't a practical system for our township at this point. And, we have relied on our staff in the past for recommendations, and this is certainly a recommendation that they helped us make a decision with.
I think, as I said, I don't think I think we're getting to be, that we'll be bringing the trash up to you people. I really think that maybe we should have a change in the taxes, so what would go toward trash removal, we'll take care of it then. But I think the way you're asking us to have this stuff, it'll just demolish those things. It's impractical. I mean, I think we're thinking very much along Stagecoach Road where everything is right there, just in the curb, or the neighbors can watch it, or something else. This is not possible. We're at 25, so we're not close neighbors, not because we don't want them, it's because that's how you woke up one day and next thing you know, voila, we're in the Pinelands. Amazing how that pen goes. The point I'm trying to say is I don't think it's a practical means for elderly and infirm people who have to go a half-mile round trip dragging those things, because you can't leave them there. It's impossible. Either that or end up being shotgunned to death, including that little container that you want to, whatever.
Okay, we'll take that under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, it doesn't appear that anyone else wants to address the Township Committee meeting this evening. Thank you for attending. At this time, I'll turn to Mr. Newman for his motion.
I move the resolution be incorporated in the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Matters number 1, personnel. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. A, it is anticipated that matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public following the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. B, with respect to personnel, with respect to employment, personnel matters, such discussion can be made in public if and when formal action is taken, or any individuals involved consent that it can be made public. Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you all. Have a great evening and a great week.
Mr. Mayor, I have a conflict with the personnel issues, so
Good night.
I'm going to excuse myself.
Lucky you. Thank you. Huh?